And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Welcome in to RBLR Bandits here at RBLR Sports. My name is Yurika Wheeler, and I am excited as we roll into week number 1 of the United States Football League. And I am not alone. The man to my right. This is my co-host with the most, a passionate football fan, and a guy who's alongside all of us for the ride. That, of course, is Mr. Zach Blaine. What's good, man?
What is happening? We are, 3 days away now? 3 days. We get to watch our Tampa Bay Bandits kick some Mauler ass.
Let's go. Yes, we finally have made it through. If you, listener, have not listened to our podcast yet in the archives, you still have a few days to go back and listen to our complete breakdown of every single Bandit that we've drafted or signed as a free agent. You can get a complete deep dive into the offense and defense and head coach of this Tampa Bay Bandits team. But today we're going to talk a little bit about the other team that we're going to play. We'll give you some offense, we'll give you some defense, and also our initial thoughts on how our offense and defense will attack the Pittsburgh Maulers. Before we get into that, though, let's go ahead and talk about the couple news items that have popped up before we get into this week's matchup. The first will be that Devontae Davis, a cornerback that we did talk about last week, unfortunately
last week,
he has been released, and to replace him, they signed outside linebacker T.J. Neal. I don't have a lot of notes on T.J. Neal. I know that he did go to the University of Auburn for a little bit. He transferred around to Illinois, and I believe there was one more place that he went to before he ended up leaving college. But
Warford, I think.
Okay, yeah.
I'm no promises, but I think it was Warford.
But again, I strengths, weaknesses, I don't have a lot on TJ Neal, and unfortunately my quick Googling skills didn't bring up anything either. But what I did see is on the social media accounts, and if you are on social media, if you're on Twitter, hit us up at RBLR Bandits. We retweeted that the USFL's mascots have finally been released. Did you get to see any of the pictures of the USFL mascots?
I saw a few.
I saw a few. Is there one or two you want to talk about before we move on?
I mean, I don't have any details to go into to talk about them, but I will say that they make my 5-year-old son very happy.
Okay, see, think about that.
They look. Yeah, see, so when I initially looked at it, I was like, wow, this is cheesy as hell. Not a fan. See, they're yelling in the background. That's how excited they are about them. So I mean, it's kind of, my initial thought was, nope, these are terrible. I hate them. And then when I saw Dawson's reaction, I was like, okay, all right. Maybe I get the point of them now.
Yeah, we're not the audience, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like they're not brought out to be crowd warmer-uppers like other major sports are.
Well, I can tell you that our mascot is probably the only one that's carrying a pistol on them. Maybe not out for, there's not like a foam pistol, but he's packing. Come on, man. But
he's got to be.
The final thing though is they had the fans come up with the names for these mascots, and we're down to the final 3, which you can still vote as of recording. There's still 12 more hours to go, but the 3 names, I'll give them to you. I'll have you tell me which one of these you like the best. The 3 that were the finalists are the Bayside Bandit, Billy the Bandit, or Barry the Bandit. Which one of those 3 are you voting in the Twitter poll for?
See, so if I had to pick one of those, I guess I'm going Billy. Sorry, the kids are being a little loud. I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good. Come on. They're excited.
So I would go Billy. I'd go Billy just because Billy the Kid, kind of a bandit. I like that one.
I dig it. Well, you and about 39% of the vote so far agree with you. In the lead is the Bayside Bandit with 46% of the vote, and Barry, poor Barry's in the back there. However, though, the thing I want to bring up is that everyone, I say everyone, the very vocal Twitter presence out there has been just befuddled that we are not calling him Bert the Bandit. It should just be Bert the Bandit. For a lot of reasons. One, Burt Reynolds was one of the original owners of the Bandits, and that's kind of why we're named the Bandits, because he was the lead character in Smokey and the Bandit. It was a huge movie at the time. Made him Burt Reynolds a huge star. And so Bert the Bandit as a little nod. I have no idea if there's a trademark infringement there or something, but I can tell you, no matter what the winner, quote unquote, of that contest will be, everyone's calling him Bert the Bandit, and I just know that that's what it's going to be. So, Billy, Barry, or Bayside, sorry, buddy, it's going to be Bert the Bandit, no matter what. So,
I like the throwback to that too. Like that fits much more than any of the other ones. Like the Bayside Bandit, I kind of get that. Obviously, they're in the Tampa Bay. Like I get that, but the Bert the Bandit is probably the catchiest, and it's got the most meaning.
All right. Well, no matter what, it's still better than whatever the hell the Philadelphia Stars mascot is. They're keeping the trend with just Philadelphia having just weird mascots. Their mascot's kind of just like a red thing. Like it's not a star. It's not. It's like it has horns, like a devil kind of thing that poke up. It's just got this weird side-eye thing going on. It's just kind of like the Grimace from McDonald's turned red. That's the best way I can really say it. I tweeted, I was just like, what the hell, Philadelphia? I don't understand. Like the rest of these, like we'll talk about the Maulers. Theirs is basically like Steely McBeam in the minor leagues. That's basically what they did with him. The Bandits, pretty easy, pretty simple. I mean, even the New Orleans Breakers have a guy who, is kind of a cool for kids. It looks like he come out of a comic book or something, man. He looks like he's like got Aquafresh toothpaste on his head. But other than that, I get it. I get it.
You just killed it for me. I was just gonna say how at least New Orleans has, a pretty cool mascot, and then you just said that, and that's instantly what popped in my head. Now every time I see him,
it's
I'm just
reminding the kids.
Toothpaste commercial.
It's reminding the kids to brush up and keep that dental hygiene on 100. So. But with all that said, I think we've wasted enough time. It's time to talk football. Finally, you and I get to talk actual football. At least in one more week, we can dissect X's and O's, my friend. But today we still only have our rosters and our news and notes that we've got from digging into these guys. So, your Tampa Bay Bandits will be playing the Pittsburgh Maulers, and the Bandits are actually the largest favorite of the weekend. Vegas has the Bandits as a 3.5-point favorite. The under-over is set at 41.5 points, but LOL, who knows? Who knows, man? We haven't seen any of these teams play. The Bandits are getting a lot of press from being like number one in power rankings, and a lot of articles are coming out about like the Bandits are going to be really good. They're a favorite. They're a favorite to win the championship. I think they are the number one favorite in Vegas if you want to go bet who's going to win the championship. But who knows? This is week one, and we haven't even seen practice. We haven't seen scrimmages. We haven't seen preseason. We have no idea. But we'll try to get as much as we can out of this. So, Zach, I'll let you take the lead here. Let's talk about Pittsburgh's defense versus our offense. Who is someone that you're looking at on the defensive side of the ball for the Maulers?
So on the defensive side, they have this guy who plays right in the middle. He's one of their middle linebackers, EJ Ijaya, and I apologize if you're listening and I butchered your name. Okay. It's a hard name to say.
Yeah.
But he is a kid out of North Texas, playing for the Mean Green, who is just ridiculously good at getting tackles for losses. He ranks second all-time in program history for tackles for the loss at 40.5, and was the single season leader. Again, this is at North Texas, so it's not like a huge school, but he has a single season record of 25 in 2018 for tackles for loss. So I think that kind of doesn't bode well for us in the first game of the season.
Okay.
And I only say that because I do feel like we're going to be a run-heavy team towards the beginning of the year. I know that we have probably the best quarterback in the league, but I also feel like it's going to take time for us to get that connection and that chemistry with the receivers. So I think we're going to be a run-heavy team to start off, and that kind of worries me with having a guy that is kind of known, like his strengths are run defense. Some of his weaknesses, I don't want to do too much of a deep dive on him, but some of his weaknesses are his pass coverage skills.
Okay.
So it could go either way, but I just feel like that's someone that I'm looking out for on Pittsburgh.
You know, let's before we get into any more players, I think you brought up a good point. Let's actually talk about what we're expecting out of our Tampa Bay Bandits offense first and foremost. You had said you're expecting a little bit more run heavy as we get acclimated to the league and kind of we see things for the first time. I'm going to tend to agree with you on that. It will take time, but I believe that Todd Haley he wants to play with all these toys, man. I believe that we're still going to try to be a high-octane passing offense. It's just how long is that eventually going to take to to click? The one question mark that we have to think about with Jordan Ta'amu is that he has to show that he can read defenses. That's like his one knock. Or is Todd Haley going to be able to work around that issue? And of course, establishing a run game is going to be helping out a lot. However, the way they built the offensive line, I think, is built towards more pass blocking guys. I mean, they're big, but they're also, agile, and they can hold that pocket. But with Ta'amu, I mean, look at all these weapons he has at his disposal. Of course, we've gone over this over the last weeks. Again, go back into the archives, listen to those breakdowns, and we'll tell you about the two Derricks using their speed. Derek Willis and Derek Dillon. We told you about those guys. We talked about John Franklin being used around the field in different ways and using his unique skill set. So I'm looking for that too. But I also am looking at Cheyenne O'Grady and Daquan Hampton. They're both playmaking tight ends that aren't run blocking kind of extra lineman kind of guys. And so I kind of think that's why we're gonna air it out. But do you see, like, will that be a problem if we can't get the passing high octane offense to go first and we are kind of forced to rely on the run as we get acclimated?
See, so I don't want to say it's going to be a problem, because I think that's the upside of us having Todd Haley as our offensive, or as our head coach, and probably going to be calling most of the offensive plays.
Okay.
Is that his form? I was doing some research earlier this morning, actually, on Todd Haley and kind of how he operates. And he's going to be a coach that's going to kind of, at least in his time in the NFL, he was a coach that ran an up-tempo-ish. He wasn't at the top of the league, but he wasn't at the bottom of the league as far as the tempo of the game and pace of play. He likes to run a quick run-style offense. So I think that with the weapons we have, we're set up to be a passing offense. Like, I agree with your take on that completely. I do think that we are built more for, maybe RPOs and more pass plays as opposed to being like a run-heavy team. But I don't think that it's going to be an issue, because I think that Todd Haley kind of has that mentality that, okay, well, this isn't working, we can just run the ball. Like, I know how to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be B.J. Emmons' chance to shine. If history serves right, he'll get the majority of the carries. And really, if B.J. Emmons is kind of forced to be the in that role, because we need to establish our run game before maybe we unlock some of the passing lanes and throw a little bit of second dimensions in there. BJ Emmons, I hope, is up to the task. I hope that he's going to be able to, use that power running that we were talking about with him as a hard physical runner, and then having Juwan Washington as that change of pace guy out of the backfield. So I'm just so excited to talk about this, man, because I think the offense is going to be the one of the better ones in the league. And really, knowing how we kind of see how they're going to attack us, I did want to bring up a couple more guys on their defense. So knowing that, I think if we're going to be passing a lot or even trying to establish the run, a lot of that's going to be done in the trenches. And so they've got a defensive tackle named Carlo Kemp that I think is the one guy I want to really emphasize on. He's a 6'3", 281-pound guy out of Michigan who was an undrafted free agent for the Packers. Very, very high motor on him. He does not quit. He wants to get physical. He wants to get in there. And he's very agile. His one knock, right, but is that he's built like an edge rusher at 6'3", 281, but he's kind of slow and plays like a nose tackle. But he's an undersized guy for that role. So it's weird. It's like if he was just a little bit quicker, I think he would be an edge rusher, but he's not, and he likes to get physical and get at people because, he can't run around them, so he wants to go through them. And that's what I'm really expecting to see out of Carlo Kemp. The last guy I'll bring up is Blair Brown. He's a linebacker, 6 foot, 243 out of Ohio, racked up a ton of tackles in college, and eventually was a 5th-round pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2017. He actually saw a little bit of time in the NFL, got 17 tackles, half a sack, and even a fumble recovery. And so Blair Brown is a linchpin, I think, in their defense. He's a dude that very good at play recognition. He's good at making a decision right off the snap on where to go, where to be, how to fill a hole, and he's agile enough to play sideline to sideline. I've seen him in his kind of highlight film. He was on the other hash, goes kind of without just turning and running, but he just goes sideline to sideline, keeping the angle, keeping his shoulders parallel, and he gets to the outside numbers while in pursuit. The only thing is he's not quick enough to recover when he's beaten on an angle. So guys like Cheyenne O'Grady, guys like DeQuan Hampton, if they can get to that second level and they're unfortunately playing in a zone that he's covering, or if he's, God forbid, he's put in coverage man on man with those guys, he's gonna be caught on a thing. However, though, finding the ball, finding the runner, getting to the spot, filling up the gap, he's very good at. So he's a guy that I will be definitely looking at. Any other? Go ahead. I was gonna say any other thoughts you had on their offense.
Yeah, so it seems like a lot of the guys that we are kind of talking about, like the ones that stood out to us, we both kind of picked up the same thing. Like they're relatively good at run defense, but their pass coverage is where they're lacking.
Yeah.
So if you look at the teams on paper, and maybe that's why we're the most favored, because if you look at the teams on paper, we have one of the best passing quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah.
So they're probably expecting us to just pass the ball, and they probably saw the same things that we saw. I mean, I don't know, we are pretty good at what we do, but they probably saw the same things that we saw as far as, okay, so if they get put into pass coverage, they might be screwed.
That might just be a hallmark of the players that are available to this level of football. Because if these guys were really, really good at everything, or at least better than average at most things, they would be in the NFL. Now, a lot of these guys were in the NFL, but they haven't made it there, or haven't been there for a while. So I think that this is why I think along the same lines that you said about why we're going to run the ball. I think why I'm differing and say we're going to throw the ball is because if you're in the run game, it's more about kind of athleticism and kind of instincts where the defense probably has the advantage at that point because they know where they're attacking. But in the pass game, as long as the offensive line can keep them upright, then the offenses can then our offense can control if you're looking at what they're good at, what they're bad at on an individual level, right? Like what you're saying is like if they're bad at pass coverage and they've got a few guys that are like that, if we pass, we're striking their weakness, right?
Yeah, no, I think that you're kind of saying exactly what I think is going to happen. I was just like my thought process on them running is just based off of it being like the first game of the season. But I do very much agree with you, and that being like what I could see us passing the ball a lot more just based off who we're playing and their strengths and weaknesses. So I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, and not just to be nice to you, but I see where you're going because the other flip side of that, right, is to be coordinated as an offense, to have all 11 guys on the same page. Who's your coverage? Who are you defending? How do you pick up a blitz? All those kind of things that the offensive line and like running a route, getting the timing, all of those things that like that's very complicated. And so for them, the truth is these guys haven't been a team for more than a month, right? so
exactly.
Running the ball's a lot easier in terms of like, well, we're going to do, 20 I formation 20, just run the A gap, right? There you go. It's like everyone kind of knows where they're going.
Yeah.
They know what they're going to do. And it's a little easier than saying like, oh, the line has to protect. There needs to be a drop back. A guy running an out route has to hit the right yardage and then get over there. And then Tom has got to place the ball. All of those things are a lot easier than just like toss sweep, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of, like as much as I don't want to like discredit anyone that plays defense, like when I played in high school, I played defense, but it's much easier to play defense than it is to play offense.
Sure.
Because generally, I say much. I mean, I don't know how much I would say, but generally, if you're running a man, you just got to cover your man. You're running a zone, you just got to cover your zone.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said, when it comes to like you got to pick up blitz packages. You gotta dissect all that the defense is doing on offense, and you think, well, oh, he's just a lineman, like he doesn't have to know that stuff. Well, no, he does because he has to block two people so that the guy to his left can pick up that blitz, and
right.
it just
right.
I feel like it's much easier to play defense from a mental standpoint than it is to learn a whole new offense, which is kind of like you said, these guys haven't been a team for more than a month, so they have a month of learning a whole new playbook and learning each other's tendencies. I just feel like a lot of these games that we're going to have in the beginning are going to be defensive-led games.
I agree with you 100%. It really is to be how quickly they can be acclimated. And I mean, that's one of the reasons that Todd Haley brought in a bunch of guys, I think, that have played for him before. A lot easier to install an offense when you have players that already know it, right? That's Captain Obvious here. But another thing that they could do to get on the page 100% faster is, I can't control them reading the playbook, but they can control what they wear underneath the pads. So if these guys happen to go to shop.rblrsports.com and they pick up that barely legal football shirt that we have front and center on the shop, it would help out us as a podcast. I mean, we're not going to be millionaires selling T-shirts, but it would help with a little bit of the cost of running the whole thing, and of course, keeps us food in our bellies and us off the streets, right? So, but it comes in black, it comes in gray. It's got the cool like red and white and black of our Bandits. And I really tried to kind of capture that essence of Bandit football and all the fun the law will allow. So if you go to shop.rblrsports.com, use the promo code Bandit Ball, BANDITBALL, and you're going to get 10% off that T-shirt or any of the other T-shirts that we have celebrating the Rays, the Lightning, the Bucks, the Rowdies, all of the professional teams here in the Tampa Bay area. So If you head on over, shop.rblrsports.com, there is a link in the description. Use that promo code Bandit Ball for 10% off.
I say they're all wearing the same shirt. That's team chemistry. That's all we need.
Ooh, yeah. I dig that. Like, well, look good, feel good, play good. It's that's the adage for a reason, and they could look better with one of those T-shirts. But we just talked about their defense attacking our offense. Let's go to the other side of the ball. Let's talk about Pittsburgh's offense versus our defense. The first thing I'll ask you is maybe not a player specifically, but what do you expect overall out of the Bandits defense as going into this week 1 matchup?
So overall, I think that this is the spot where I am most intrigued. I think would be a good word to use.
Okay.
I don't know like exactly what they're gonna do. I would imagine we're gonna get a good combination of just coverage plays, and I want to say we're gonna play aggressive because like it makes sense with what I said before, as far as like a lot of these teams running the ball a lot.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're going to be more of a coverage team overall, because I just feel like that's kind of, again, the systems that Todd Haley has been in. Granted, he wasn't the defensive coordinator or anything, but he's been in the league and seen it. And a lot of the teams that he was with ran more coverage as opposed to blitz packages, aside from when he was with the Steelers. But that's just something. I think he was with the Steelers. Sorry. I'm going with we're going to play more of a coverage team or more of a coverage D with the occasional blitzing.
Yeah, one of the greatest things that I think we came to a conclusion on over the last 4 weeks of deep diving into the cornerbacks and the linebackers and the front seven, like all that stuff, is that a pattern was emerging. We went out and got hard-hitting, nasty, physical guys. Like, I mean, just across the board, when you look at their strengths, it's none of them were like, they shy away from tackling, or they don't like to get physical, or none of that was in their DNA. This was all like, if anything, they're too aggressive. They get penalized. They don't know when to stop. Those are the kind of guys, character-wise, that we brought in. Even in the secondary, they don't. It's not I kind of made the joke, like, they're not Deion Sanders out there. They're tall and they're physical and they hit you at the line of scrimmage and they do all that. Their weakness is that they don't have a lot of speed, not blazing speed, not like, track level speed. Here and there, they're all quick. I mean, to play the position, you have to be a base level of quickness, but that's not their forte. Like, these are dudes who want to get in your face. They want to mess with your hands. They're gonna play you right on that edge of like what's legal in this game. All the coverage the law will allow, right? And so they're big, they're nasty, they're not quick or whatever, but they're across the board. That's what I get. I also saw in our coverage that a lot of potential for different looks. I still don't know if we're going to be a 4-3 or a 3-4 or what we're going to do. And of course, if there's more passing, you're going to see more nickel backs. You're going to see more dime backs in this league. But we have players that, yes, there might be a D lineman, but they used to play linebacker. Or we have safeties that are also big like linebackers. We have guys that can play so many different positions that if we're able to kind of coordinate or game plan against our opponents, you're going to see guys kind of possibly jumping all over the field. We might be able to disguise some looks and add a little bit more confusion from other defenses in this league. So that's kind of what I'm seeing overall. The one question, I kind of alluded to it, but Zach, one of the things we also brought up was the mental side of this. So we kind of guessed that we're going to be on the top level of penalties, but now with another week or two of thinking about it, should this be a concern? Will penalties be one of the calling cards of the Bandits defense?
should it be a concern? I feel like politically the correct answer is yes, it should be a concern. Like the PC answer is yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say no, it's not a concern. I think that a lot of the teams are going to be penalized a lot. I do think we're going to be towards the top of that a lot,
Mm.
but I think that we're going to have the ability to get takeaways and the ability to stop even our own bleeding from our penalties. So I think that I don't want to see too many penalties, but I also do want to see some hard hits. So to me, being the kind of football fan that I am okay with the penalties as long as I see some hard hits.
To be fair, man, I agree with you. I think that they're going to get penalized, and unfortunately, some drives are going to get elongated because of a guy going for the little extra mustard, versus like, playing a little bit more fundamentally sound football. But I think they want to scare people. I think they want to get into people's faces. They want to say, if you come across the middle, you're going to get taken out. If you can even get off the line of scrimmage, it's going to be a fight to do so. So I think we're going to see a little bit of holding, a little bit of PI, a little bit of unnecessary roughness. But eventually what that's going to do is give us the added ability that people are going to be hearing footsteps before they catch the ball or before they turn that corner. I think that's really what this defense looks like. That's what I'm seeing out of the patterns I'm seeing. What am I off my rocker on that one?
No, and I don't think so at all. And I think you just brought up a good point. It kind of brought me back to a memory. I was watching. It was the New York Jets play. I believe it was the New England Patriots, and Sam Darnold was their quarterback. Was New York's quarterback at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and they caught him on the sideline. And I remember this because he got so much flack for it for just being an honest kid. He said, "Man, I'm seeing ghosts out there." And I have a feeling that these people that play the Bandits, the defense that we're going to have is going to have a lot of people seeing ghosts. And I'm going to make a prediction
Ooh.
that says our biggest penalty is going to be unnecessary roughness. And I think that we're going to come out, and just to give my prediction on the defense we're going to play, I'm going to go more of a 3-4 zone defense.
Okay. Yeah, I think the personnel is set up for that. A little bit more zone, or like you're saying, like if you're calling a few blitzes here and there, which again, I think the play calling is going to be pretty aggressive too. You're replacing that blitz with maybe a zone in the flat or something like that. So
yeah,
a lot more of that kind of mixing coverages. I don't think there's going to be a lot of man. I mean, unless a couple of these guys kind of show the acumen to do that and kind of be on an island. I mean, we do have a couple of guys that are speedy. If we're looking at, Christian Campbell's a guy who's very quick, has long arms. So I mean, maybe you could put him, Rennell Hall out of the Orlando Tech out of there, whatever they're calling that college out there. But maybe there's a couple guys, and we'll see. But I think that's a good basis to set us up for talking about specific players on Pittsburgh's team that we were keying in on. First and foremost, we got to, I think, start with their head coach, which is Kirby Wilson. Kirby Wilson's a guy who is an offensive guy, just like Todd Haley, and in fact coached alongside Todd Haley in Pittsburgh. And here's a little salacious stuff. There might be a little bit of bad blood between these two coaches, Zach. There was rumors that Todd Haley and Wilson did not get along while they were both in the Steelers organization, and might have actually blamed Todd Haley for why they let Kirby Wilson go. But Kirby Wilson's a dude who was a running back coach for like 12 different teams in the NFL. He's a long tenured guy.
Teams over 24 years.
Dude, he's been around. This is finally his shot. And again, this is one of the things that's great about the United States Football League. Guys like this that are getting their shot to run the show, and Kirby Wilson gets to show if he's got what it takes to run the whole thing. So, I mean, I don't wish him luck this week, but I wish him luck overall. But who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But let's talk about their quarterback first. I know you had some things you wanted to talk about. Kyle Lauletta, who was a 4th-round pick in the NFL back in 2018 for the Giants, but he also made his way into Philadelphia, Atlanta, Cleveland, and Jacksonville's practice squads, and most recently played for Cleveland on their active roster. So what's your breakdown on Kyle Lauletta of the Maulers?
Yeah, so like you said, he was just on the active roster for an NFL team, and he's still relatively young. I believe he's 27, so he's right there at my age. But he's one of those guys who is not gonna kill you with arm strength.
Yeah.
Like he's not gonna throw an 80-yard bomb. He's not Patrick Mahomes out there, but he is a relatively smart quarterback. So I think that if we have anyone lacking in coverage, we're gonna get beat a lot in the middle of the field, and a lot of checkdowns because of his arm strength. And one of the worries of mine is that, granted, he hasn't played very much in the NFL. He still has the experience of facing scout teams and first team defenses as the scout quarterback. So he's got the experience that a lot of these quarterbacks in the USFL don't have. That is something that worries me.
Sorry, not to step on you there. What are we in terms of accuracy or footwork and things like that? Like, how's he looking on that end?
So his footwork is not bad, and his accuracy, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it without being I don't want to sit on the fence too much with it.
Okay.
But from what I've read, obviously, I didn't watch very much of him in college because he played at Richmond. So it's like I didn't.
Oh, you're not a big Spiders fan over there? Like, do the Beavers never play the Spiders, buddy?
Believe it or not, they don't. And it's funny that you mentioned like the Spiders, because whenever March Madness comes around, I always root for them just because they have the most basic logo, like, mascot in the world. It's so cool.
I love it.
But I don't watch very much of them. No.
Okay. I don't blame you.
So I guess that's kind of like, not to be a just riding the fence or anything, but I think that his accuracy is going to be right at mid-level.
Okay.
It's not great. It's not bad. It's not Tiamu great. Like, so I don't think I'm not going to put him up to that level. And his arm strength is, like, I know I've mentioned it a few times, but I don't think that his arm strength is NFL ready, let alone starting quarterback ready.
Yeah, I would assume a guy who doesn't have the best cannon has to rely on things like accuracy or making decisions or just having solid mechanics all around just to kind of stick around for as long as he has in the NFL. So, the question was, I guess, how amazing. You brought up Jordan, and Jordan's in the same boat where, like, at this level, Jordan is a star, or at least we expect him to be a star. In the NFL, who knows? He's holding the clipboard, maybe not even on the roster, and it looks like Kyle's kind of settling into that level too. So that's my big question is, has Kyle kind of dropped down to the level where he's going to excel at kind of being one of these guys who's going to be a top-tier USFL guy, but not quite an NFL guy, but maybe he's found his spot here in the USFL?
So my thought on that is, I don't know that I don't want to give him too much props, but I don't know that I'd give up on Kyle yet.
Okay.
And I say that because, again, we got to keep in mind he was just on an active roster last season.
That's fair.
So the way that I look at, like, and obviously I don't know the man, I don't know for sure, but in my head I'm thinking maybe this is just him trying to show more teams, like, hey, I can still be that guy, as opposed to I didn't have any backup offers or anything.
Right.
So I don't know that I'm ready to say no, he's not an NFL quarterback, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he's never an NFL quarterback again. So I don't know how to, like, put that into words aside from how I just did.
Yeah, we're gonna have this is the question is with a spring league. The question overall is: are there enough guys that are good enough to play entertaining football? And unfortunately, we're gonna find guys that are just good enough to hang around in the NFL, but they're never gonna play. They're in real games, like unless there's injuries. But those are the kind of guys that are here to play, here to get the game film, here to show that they are just better than the rest of the league. And maybe they get a second shot in the NFL. So Kyle's fallen down to here. I hope that he's horrible for one more game as he plays the Bandits. But again, it's a guy we need to look at. So I'm going to bring up a running back as the next guy, and then I'll have you throw another guy at me here. But let's talk about Madre London, okay? Madre London is a guy who was not drafted by the Maulers because he was not available, because he was over in the European League of Football, which is a thing that exists. If you didn't know that, there is a European League of Football that a lot of Americans go over and play with a lot of the teams that are kind of the same names of the old NFL Europe or World League of Football. Madre actually played for the Cologne Centurions, one of those teams that was in the NFL Europe. He's a 6'1", 220-pound guy, former Michigan State and Tennessee. Those are the two colleges he went to. And he played in the Spring League, which was the predecessor of the United States Football League here. But he didn't get picked up by any NFL team, so he went over to Europe and just absolutely demolished the European League of Football. In 11 games over there, he had 2,177 yards and 24 touchdowns, multiple 300-yard games, and he has a just ridiculously high yards per carry at 7.2. Now, again, the European League of Football is probably not going to be the same level as the United States Football League, just because a lot of guys don't go over to Europe. But he has shown that at some level against guys who are professionals or at least have college experience and things like that, that he was literally 1,000 yards better than the second place running back in that league. So here's a guy who, he wasn't just a humdrum guy, better than average. This dude was an absolute beast over there in the ELF. And from what I saw from his little bit of game film I watched on him, he stays up after contact. And he's quick enough to hit the edge and burst with speed. And that is a combination for disaster for a defense when you get a guy who, you can hit him, but he'll take the first hit without going down. And if he evades you and gets to that second level, he might only have one more guy to beat, and it's a 70-yard touchdown, right? So here's a guy who they actually, if I remember right, we had a former Tampa Bay Viper was cut from that team. Devion Smith was actually cut from the Maulers, and they replaced him with Madre London. Like as soon as he was available as a free agent, they swagged him up. So it's like, who and to be honest with you, Devion Smith is out there on Twitter right now saying like he would have been he's available and like why did they cut me for this guy? So I'm very intrigued to see what London does at the USFL level. Did you know there was still a European League of Football, Zach?
So I was just gonna say I was unaware that there was still a European League of football.
You and me both, big guy.
I mean that's awesome. Maybe we'll start a Euro League podcast next.
Oh no!
If this doesn't work out, no. So do you think that Devion is someone that will get another chance? And I mean I know not to go on to like too much into this, but do you think he's someone that'll get another chance in the USFL or potentially the XFL coming up?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. There's another spring league coming up in 12 months. There's going to be a lot of guys that either cross over from here to there or guys that weren't exactly sold on the USFL. They wanted to see what The Rock is cooking over there. Maybe we'll see. You like what I did there? Devion, though, of course he might go be the he hate me of the new XFL, but And guys are going to get hurt. I mean, we're going to play football. Guys are going to get hurt over the next weeks of the USFL. There's going to be guys that no one's even thought of right now. Or, to be honest with you, there's going to be guys that are going to watch this Saturday and Sunday. They're going to watch the games. They're going to see the presentation, and they're going to go, I was on the fence about it. Now I want to be in the league. Yeah, I can go play for, Todd Haley, or I can go play for Kirby, I definitely think there's going to be some turnover as guys get hurt and they get injured, and maybe their injuries are too long to sustain. Because, I mean, in the NFL, you're playing 17 games now. So there's time where you get hurt in training camp and then you miss half the year. In the USFL, it's a lot quicker turnaround time. So there's going to be guys off the scrap heap all over the place. But let's see what Madre London can do, man. He was an SEC football player, Michigan State football player. He got his one.
football player?
He went over to Europe. No, I mean, he went and made some money over in Europe. He just whatever the quality was over there, he was better than it. So we'll see what he can do over here in the new USFL. Who's a guy you're looking at other than Kyle Lauletta? Who's another Mauler you're looking at?
Yeah, so the one guy that I'm looking at right now is a wide receiver named Brandon Mack.
Okay.
He is a 6'5" wide receiver out of Temple. So I don't know if you know anything about Temple, but they do what's called the Temple Tough Single Digit Award. So there's only a certain amount of people on the Temple football team that are able to wear single digit numbers.
Okay.
And it's for people that are, it's not necessarily just tough, like physically tough, but mentally tough, and that show that kind of drive that they want to get better and that they can go through adversity.
I love it.
So not only is he standing at 6'5", weighing in at 220 pounds, but he's a guy who is, going to be a goal line threat.
Yeah.
Or red zone threat, not goal line, but a red zone threat, just based off of his size. So it's something that when we talked about our corners, they were not necessarily the tallest of corners. I think we had a few that were 6'2", 6'3", but still, that's 2 extra inches this guy has over them. And if we're playing a zone coverage, it kind of fits the style of play that Brandon is good at, or is good against. Some of his weaknesses were based more off of press coverage and him having a hard time getting release from the press coverage.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of something that worries me when I was doing the research into Pittsburgh, is that this guy has got drive, he's got toughness, and he kind of plays well against the style of defense that I'm predicting we run. Again, it's just a prediction, so I could be way off. But if it goes the way that I'm thinking in my head, he does play very good against the style of defense I see us playing.
Yeah, actually, I have a little bit of experience. He was an undrafted guy that the Broncos snagged up a little bit ago, and so the problem is the Broncos have had at the time just a bunch of wide receivers: Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, and I mean even Tim Patrick, who's the worst of all those guys, is a serviceable. Like, I would love to have Tim Patrick on the Bandits, right? He would be the number one wide receiver.
Exactly.
He'd be the number one wide receiver probably in the USFL, and he's the 5th best option. And they had at the time Noah Fant as a tight end, so it's like good luck getting into that roster. So Mack's a guy who's large, and I'm surprised he wasn't tried out as a tight end. It's just that I don't think he really has that. He's not big enough. He'd have to put on a lot of size to be a tight end. And for him being as tall as he is, like, he's more of a vertical threat. And that's kind of what we didn't need. I'm a Broncos fan, so it's not what the Broncos needed. So he wasn't. We needed a guy who was like a slot receiver, goes over the middle, does the dirty work, and this not what Mack is. At the USFL level, though, he definitely could work the outside and be a vertical threat. And I don't know what his overall prospects are going to be in the NFL, but here, if they can get the ball to him, if Lauletta can uncork that thing down the field, Mack is definitely someone they're going to have to watch, because he's not like super fast. He wasn't like a track star or nothing, but you brought it up, like with our defense that we're kind of looking at with our corners. If he matches up with one of the guys that is more of a safety than a corner kind of guy, there might be some issues and some space that Mack can definitely navigate. So I like that. That's a good guy.
Yeah, and so like the last thing on him is like, you mentioned him going to tight end and why maybe that wasn't like the muscle mass he would have to put on.
Yeah.
And I don't even like, just looking at it that way, I don't look at it as just muscle mass. I mean, yeah, he's 220, but he's, like you said, he's kind of lanky, like almost like a basketball player, 6'5". He's not like that 6'5" that you see on a football or on a football field.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're talking like Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, right, guys that were tall basketball player dudes.
Exactly.
I don't think he's got that mentality. I don't know. I've never had a beer with him or nothing, but it just from what I've seen, he's like a speedster though. Isn't that fast? But he's just tall and I mean, they were looking at, because the Broncos had Demaryius Thomas, and I think they were looking at him as kind of a poor man's version of that, and it just didn't materialize for the Broncos. So. Let's. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I agree with that. I think that he gets another chance in the NFL at some point, just based off of his size. But I don't think that it's going to be with a team that has a bunch of wide receivers on it.
Yeah, I think he if he's going to make a roster, it's going to have to be as a special teams guy that inevitably like does something great and earns a spot, or he breaks out at the USFL and just like goes ham. Not this week, but overall maybe, I have another wide receiver though. On the flip side, a guy who isn't the tallest, isn't the biggest. That's a guy who's Bailey Gaither is who I'm going to talk about here. He's listed at 6 foot. I would doubt it, and he's about 188 pounds. This dude is a absolute speedster, 4.4 speed. He's a guy who tore his Achilles in college and kind of saw his prospects dry up. But Bailey's like, dude, this is a guy who immediately can get to top speed. It's a dude who just like, he had a little bit of a look as a Packer, but to be honest, like, he's going to be one of these dudes who probably doesn't start, but inevitably is going to make a couple plays. He's an X factor kind of guy, and he has his one trick is he's really fast, right? But along the way, he's actually picked up some good spectacular catch ability, and being that he isn't the tallest guy, like he kind of needs to be able to have sound catching fundamentals, and that's what I saw from the little bit of film that I saw from him, is that he's just like, he'll make the catch away from his body. If you throw it to him in his bubble, he'll get there, but he's never, to be honest with you, man, I don't know if he's ever going to make an NFL roster again, but one of these guys who toes the line, he makes good catches. He's a guy who's going to go over the middle. He's a guy who's going to do what it takes to get there, and he's going to be able to create mismatches with slower corners and definitely slower linebackers that have to be pressed into coverage against him as a slot receiver. So he didn't go to a giant school. He went to San Jose State, but he's a guy who might come out of nowhere and be one of these like Scooter Miller kind of guy. That's kind of what I'm looking at him as, is like a Wes Welker, Scotty Miller guy who's gonna make his bones over the middle and in the slot.
Yeah. So not like a Jalen Waddle fast guy, but like a Wes Welker, Julian Edelman kind of deal.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, that's the prototype, and not just because he's a white dude, but like just because like he's not tall, he's really fast.
I didn't even know he was white.
Yeah, he's a white dude, but like, but to be honest with you, that's who I see him modeling his successful USFL career after, is like, he can get down the field, but he doesn't have elite speed. So as a deep ball guy, like, it just wasn't going to work out for him in the NFL. But if you can get him in an area where he can settle in a zone, get it, and then burn whoever the hell's like trying to catch up to him, he could make a lot of money doing that, for a team making, 4 or 5 or 6 catches a game, that maybe he breaks a couple for yards after catch. That's a role that's very, very highly sought after. And so I kind of think that's what he should do in the USFL. And if he's able to do that, maybe he's got a ticket to get back into the National Football League.
Yeah, I mean, those 3 guys that you named right off the rip all have Super Bowl championships. They all have a Super Bowl ring. So obviously it's needed or they wouldn't have those rings. So I think that if he can produce at the XFL level like they were doing at the NFL, he'll at least get a shot in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, Zach, buddy, we have talked about the offense. We've talked about the defense. We've talked about our opponent. Now we just have to sit back and wait for Sunday night. The first USFL game ever is going to be this Saturday, the New Jersey Generals against the Birmingham Stallions. I know I'm going to be watching every single game. The great thing is with only 8 teams, you can watch 4 games of football all weekend, see the entire league at once. So I can't wait to talk to you next week about what you've seen in the USFL and, of course, how our Bandits just wiped the floor with the Pittsburgh Maulers in week 1. So before we go, was there any other overall things that you are looking forward to as we watch the Bandits finally in action?
I don't know that I'd say there's any overall things, but I am curious to get something from you before we get off of here.
Uh-oh.
I want to hear your score predictions.
I love it.
On what we're going to do this week, on what the overall score is going to be, who's going to come out victorious, what's going to happen.
I love it. I definitely believe that the Bandits are going to be high-octane passing from the get-go, and I think that they're going to have a really good defense. I believe that we are going to be stifling in week 1, and I believe that the Bandits are going to defeat the Maulers by the score of 29-17. What say you? I'm flipping the tables on you. What's your score prediction, buddy?
Ooh, okay. See, so I'm going more along the route of I am calling it right now. Tampa Bay wins. That's
Homer.
That's not in question. But I also think that defense wins championships.
Ooh, I like it.
So I'm gonna go 13 or you know what? Let's change it. 14-17. Tampa wins.
Low scoring. Okay, low scoring affair.
Low scoring. Defense wins championships.
I dig it. They can score 9 points on a touchdown now.
Damn it, I forgot. You know what? I'm sticking to it.
No,
14-17, that's the game.
So that's what I was going to say. Overall, I'm excited to see how they kind of threw this all at once at us, but they're going to basically have the crazy presentation of the drones and everything like that. They're going to have all that crazy stuff, and there's going to be these little rule changes that they put in. It's going to be interesting to see how they do that. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most. But internally on a level, I'm kind of want to see how this team's going to respond to Todd Haley. Todd Haley, known for his aggressive, kind of argumentative personality, and there were questions about his ability to keep discipline. I want to see how he's quickly been able to put together a team and how well they will respond to his coaching. So those are my 2 little things. A little bit about TV, a little bit about presentation, but mostly about the between the ears kind of stuff that I'm interested for. So I'll give you the final word as we get out of here. You got my score prediction. I love it. Give us the final word for week 1 preview against the Maulers.
Yeah, I mean, final word, again, like I said, I think we're going to win the game, obviously, and I think you brought up a very good point. It's all going to be about what's in between the ears, how they handle Todd Haley, because like you said, he is very aggressive and very harsh, and every time you see anything about him in the news, it's usually because he's being an a-hole to somebody. But I do think that's going to play a major role in it, and it's not really Bandit related, but I feel like we should probably bring up the Dwayne Haskins situation and kind of just prayers and thoughts to his family with him passing away here down in South Florida over this weekend. So not USFL related, but football related, and I know that everyone in the football world is kind of has him and his family in their thoughts. So if for some chance they're listening, we're sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to put a downer on the whole episode, but it was. It's always tough to lose someone, young in life, absolutely too young, and of course, all of our deepest thoughts and prayers. I mean, I can't even have the right words to say. It's just a tragic thing. So, again, but let's hope for a good weekend of football. And a Bandits win, baby. Let's go. Hey, let's send this inaugural weekend out with a bang. Yeah. Let's do that. So, Zach, give us a big let's ride on the way out. Let's go Bandits, and subscribe if you're wherever you're listening to this. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. All right, we out of here.
Yep. You heard the man. Hey, let's ride, baby.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.